Hello students, in this session we are going to study about antacids. As the name suggests, these are the compounds which are used against acid, that is to treat acidity. Let us see the content of the presentation. Introduction, then we will study about hyperacidity, gastritis, peptic ulcer and its type, and then treatment of hyperacidity. So, in treatment we are going to study role of antacids, what are the problems in antacid therapy, and criteria for good antacid. So first of all, let us see what are antacids. Antacids, these are the alkaline substances which reduce or neutralize gastric acidity, resulting in an increase in pH of the stomach and duodenum. So in acidity, generally what happens, the pH of the stomach gets lower. So antacids, they act by neutralizing the acid produced in the stomach. Thus, they will increase the pH of the stomach as well as duodenum. So what is hyperacidity? Increase in acid content in the stomach is known as hyperacidity. What are the reasons for hyperacidity? Starvation or inadequate food intake. Then spicy food and fatty food, alcoholism, smoking, and disease like tuberculosis, then drug-induced hyperacidity, which is generally caused by NSAIDs, that is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. If non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are taken regularly, they lead to increase in acidity, that is hyperacidity. And certain antibiotics may also cause hyperacidity, and chemotherapeutic drugs which are used in treatment of cancer, they also cause hyperacidity. So these are the reasons due to which acid content of the stomach increases. What are the symptoms of hyperacidity? Heartburn, then uncomfortable feeling from overeating, and growing hungry feeling. So these are the symptoms which indicate that the person is suffering from hyperacidity. Now, why it is important to treat hyperacidity? Because it can lead to two consequences. First is gastritis and second is peptic ulcers. We will study both of them one by one. So what is gastritis? As you can see here the diagram of the stomach is shown. You can see normal view and second is gastritis. You can see in normal there are no erosions on the surface of stomach, it has smooth lining. But you can see in the patient suffering from gastritis, you can see the erosions. Thus, gastritis is inflammation of stomach. Next is peptic ulcers. So what are ulcers? Ulcers are specific circumscribed erosion. As you can see as shown in the diagram, erosions are caused on the stomach surface and they are circular in form. Thus, ulcers are specific circumscribed erosion. Types of peptic ulcer. These are the types based on their location. Esophageal. These ulcers are located in esophagus. Gastric. These ulcers are located in stomach. In duodenal ulcers. These ulcers are located in duodenum and on jejunal side. That is, they are located near the jejunum. So these are the various types of peptic ulcers. First is esophageal. That is ulcer in the food pipe. It occurs in lower end of the esophagus. It occurs when the esophageal sphincter is defective. At the end of esophagus, a flap is present which is known as esophageal sphincter. So if this esophageal sphincter is defective, what happens? The acid of the stomach, it regurgitates back into the esophagus. Thus, it may lead to esophageal ulcer. It occurs in the condition known as hiatal hernia, and patients often suffer from heartburn. Next are gastric ulcers. Gastric ulcers occur in the lesser curvature of stomach. It may be due to decreased tissue resistance to pepsin. Now, as we have discussed in acidifying agents, pepsin is one of the components of gastric juice, which helps to digest the protein and also protects the inner lining of stomach from acid. So, if the tissue has decreased resistance to pepsin, it will lead to formation of gastric ulcer. Duodenal ulcer, it is most common as compared to esophageal and gastric ulcer, and it occurs in duodenum. Next is ulcer on jejunal side. It occurs in the patient having gastrojejunostomy. So let us see what is gastrojejunostomy. Gastrojejunostomy is a surgical procedure in which a passage is created between the stomach and the proximal loop of jejunum to provide a bypass for the gastric content. We will see with the help of diagram. You can see in figure A the normal anatomy of the stomach, whereas here you can in figure 2 you can see gastrojejunostomy. You can see the afferent loop and stomach, they are connected. Okay, so in this case it may lead to ulcer on jejunal side because jejunum here is exposed to acid and it may lead to sometimes development of ulcers. Peptic ulcers, they are chronic, that is they occur for longer duration with remissions. That is they do not get cured at once. They may occur again and again, that is remissions, and followed by exacerbations, that is increase in severity. So once they occur, and even if they are cured, they may occur again and that too with more complications or more severity. Peptic ulcers, if not treated, they may lead to complications like hemorrhage, this complication, that is bleeding. It is common in the gastric ulcers. Then perforations, this is common in duodenal ulcers. And if not treated, peritonitis, it can lead to death. Next complication is pyloric obstruction. And next is benign to malignant. That is, if not treated, they will not remain or they will be not be limited to one place. They become malignant. That is, they may also pass to other organs of the body. So, how to treat peptic ulcers? First is diet and antacids. That is, there should be control on the diet and most commonly used agents are antacids. Next is anticholinergic therapy. Anticholinergic agents, they decrease the basal acid secretion as well as secretion stimulated by histamine. Next, bed rest and surgery and removal of emotional stress. So these are the treatments through which hyperacidity and hence peptic ulcers can be cured. Most common treatment for peptic ulcer or hyperacidity is use of antacids. So what is the role of antacids? They neutralize excess of the acid and relieve pain. Also, they inactivate proteolytic enzyme pepsin and they help in ulcer healing. So what are the problems in antacid therapy? First is acid rebound. Antacids, they try to lower the pH of the stomach. So if the pH of the stomach is lowered, stomach will secrete additional hydrochloric acid. That is what antacid do. They will try to increase the pH of the stomach. Okay, as they will neutralize the acid. So in an effort to maintain lower pH, what stomach does, it will secrete additional hydrochloric acid. So this is known as acid rebound. Next is systemic alkalosis. If antacid is water soluble and readily absorbable, it may get absorbed into the systemic circulation. Thus, it will increase the pH of the blood and it is known as systemic alkalosis. It happens if the antacid is water soluble and gets readily absorbed. Next is sodium content of antacid. Many of the antacids contain sodium. So it is very harmful for the patients of heart and hypertension because sodium leads to heart problem and also increases blood pressure. That is, it may lead to hypertension. Thus, it is risky for the patients of heart and those suffering from hypertension. Next problem with the antacid therapy is local effect in the GI tract. That is, calcium and aluminium containing antacids, they cause constipation. That is, they have constipating effect. Whereas magnesium containing antacids, they have opposite effect to that of constipation. That is, they have laxative effect. So these are the 4 problems of antacid therapy. That is, acid rebound, then systemic alkalosis, sodium content of antacid and local effect in GI tract. So let us see the criteria for good antacid. So an antacid must exert effect rapidly and over a longer period of time. It should not be absorbed systemically or cause systemic alkalosis. Then they should not have laxative or constipating effect. Also, they must not cause large evolution of gas. They should buffer in the pH range 4 to 6, that is, they should maintain the pH 4 to 6. And they must inhibit pepsin. These are the various criteria for antacid which must be fulfilled by the antacid. Let us see the classification. They can be classified as systemic and non-systemic. Systemic, that is absorbable antacid. They are soluble, that is soluble in water, then readily absorbable and they produce systemic alkalosis. Non-systemic antacids, they are insoluble and hence they are not absorbed in the blood. They can be further classified as aluminium containing, calcium containing, magnesium containing and combination of antacid preparations, that is, they may contain aluminium containing and magnesium containing or calcium containing and magnesium containing. So in this session we had seen about what are antacids, then what is hyperacidity, gastritis, peptic ulcer and why it is important to treat them and how it can be treated. So most common tool for the treatment is use of antacids. And we have seen problems associated with antacid therapy, then criteria for good antacid and combination of antacids. So in our next session we will study about the compounds which are used as antacids. Thank you.